Welcome everyone to our inaugural monthly executive briefing. This first briefing is Buyers Love Systems, how to build a business that runs without you. And this is to our business owners, how to build a business that runs without you. So today, I am your host, Charles Dentz, founder and CEO of Exit Systems. And our panelists, we have Josh, Michael, Mark, and Nigel. And Josh is our special guest. Michael, Mark, and Nigel are part of the Exit Systems strategic partnership, but I'll let each of them introduce themselves. Josh.
Good morning, everyone. Josh Carnes with Lion Business Advisors. We primarily do sell-side representation in the lower middle market to Main Street business. And so we are dealing with a lot of business owners who are just learning or just coming about the fact that there is a process for selling the business. And the earlier they get involved in that process and exit planning, the better off they'll be. So thank you for having me.
You're absolutely welcome. Thanks, Josh. Michael.
Hi, everyone. Michael Neal. I'm a strategic partner in a business called Schooley Mitchell. And I talk about what is relatively a very unsexy topic compared to what other people are going to be discussing today. I focus on cost reduction and cost optimization for businesses. And when we work with our clients, businesses of all types, we can dramatically improve a company's EBITDA. More about that later, but thank you for having me, Charles.
Absolutely. Mark?
Charles, thanks for hosting, and it's very exciting to be a part of the Exit Systems ecosystem and framework. I'm a managing partner for a company called BCAT Partners. We have a systemized process for developing the alignment between a company's brand and culture based on a scientific model that is proprietary. We morph that into the Exit Systems planning so that people who are your greatest asset become aligned with the purpose of the organization and move the culture toward its, quote, North Star. So great to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Nigel.
Hey guys. So I am also part of the Exit Systems called the panelists, and so what I do here is we help build dashboards and we help build AI systems, essentially to give the visibility and the transparency with all the different departments, and we actually centralize it in one location so it's easy to access, easy to understand, and easy for investors to see if this is actually a business that they want to invest in. And so we really want to make sure that it's smooth, it's accurate, and then we feed it into AI, and then once we feed it into AI is going to give you a myriad of different options of summarizing your numbers, forecasting your numbers, analyzing trends, identifying bottlenecks, and just really predictable scaling in that sense.
Thank you, Nigel. Thank you to the panelists. Well, let's get started. Why this topic matters now. This is a very important topic. Multiples are compressing. Buyers are more selective. What does that mean? Well, compressing is all about there's higher interest rates today, there's economic uncertainty, and even though we don't talk about it much anymore, there is actually still a post-COVID recalibration. In 2021, it was a seller's market. Now, it's a buyer's market, and buyers have the upper hand. They just have more options before them that give them more control. And then there's also deal volume backlog, and that's why buyers have the upper hand. There's a tremendous amount of backlog in the market, and businesses that are on the market, and then that just simply gives buyers options to be selective. And then when it comes to just that selectivity, what that means really, it's all about a buyer just being picky and where they deploy their capital. They can scrutinize, and they do scrutinize heavier than before, operations, financials, how teams operate, and they just simply avoid companies that are owner dependent. They don't want to deal with messy books. They don't want to deal with companies that have lack of systems. They just simply they choose simply to not deal with those companies at all. So it becomes very important to think of it like this. When the money was cheap, good enough businesses could still sell well. But now, only buyer-ready businesses will command strong offers. So that's important to understand. And that's what you always want. You want a strong offer because you want a premium exit. And at the end of the day, if you really want top value, you can't just grow. You have to de-risk your business. And de-risking is having systems, clean metrics, a self-managing company or self-managing team that it's no longer a nice to have, but rather it's really kind of the price of admission to having a premium exit. So just that little background, and want to get into having the panelists address what buyers actually are looking for and the critical questions that they ask. And those questions are around scalability, predictability, and transferability. So on this first one, can this company grow with minimal friction? Anyone like to address what that may mean from a buyer perspective and what actions owners should take?
Charles, I'll take a crack at the minimal friction part. One of the things that buyers look for, Josh can chime in on this as well, is a good solid culture of people that have a good chemistry and work together collaboratively, so that they're not working in silos. They don't have the backbiting and passive aggressive behavior that you see in a lot of organizations. And in order for an organization to be exit ready, a buyer's going to have to come in and say, listen, everyone in this organization is really working together for a common goal, a common purpose. And the only way to do that is with a systematized process to align culture with the brand promise. So, that's one of the things that Exit Systems does very, very well, understanding that the people in the organization are critically important to minimizing the friction and growing the organization.
Thank you, Mark. Josh, you have some comments on that?
It's funny. So we work in the lower middle market and generally primarily with first-time owner operators who are exiting. So they haven't gone through the process before. And so it's funny how many owners come to us and say, hey, I'm really worried that they're going to come in and get rid of everyone, right? Their introduction to M&A is Succession on HBO, right? And they think that they're just going to come in and gut the company and kill everyone. And the reality is they're buying the people in the company, the people, the process, all of that. And so it is really an interesting time when you sit there and like, no, they're going to give your key people a bump. They're going to give them a raise. They're going to give them a stick around bonus. They're going to bring them on as higher level stuff. So the people that are in the business, and can they teach other people and can they grow? The scalability part of it is one, they're not going to chop up your business for the most part. And then two, on the scalability, buyers want something that they can grow, right? They don't want it at the peak and they don't want it when it's going back. And so saying, hey, it did X 10 years ago doesn't help. Buyers are looking for those businesses that are on an upward trajectory, where with the right people and the key people with their money and expertise, they can continue that upward trajectory. So
that's nice. And I know we've talked about that quite a bit from an Exit System standpoint. Mark has led that conversation. And so, yeah, completely agree with what you're saying. Michael or Nigel, you have any comments on this one?
Well, I'm going to read your mind and maybe segue to the second one in terms of predictability, if that's okay, because
you are reading my mind.
So, after you get through the minimal friction and predictability, creating, as I talked about what I do, creating those predictable savings that compound over time anywhere between like 15 to 50% across different cost categories, that creates significant financial impact for the owner. And as it ties to collectively the exit system's big picture, these systematic cost benchmarks, which we then demonstrate via the dashboards that Nigel's team puts together, make an owner's company more attractive to strategic buyers who are looking for these type of integration efficiencies. Know what I mean? And when you look at some of the bigger types of buyers, perhaps those private equity firms or those that are doing roll-ups, when you can identify the redundancies in the multi-location operations, this makes them even more attractive as acquisition targets. And then these documented savings over time, like a documented savings history that you could see what happens because it is predictable, that really demonstrates an owner's or even their small management team's commitment to building operational excellence. And that really stands out as a value driver for those companies that are looking for an exit.
That's beautifully said. And I want to segue again now to Nigel, because what I see here with predictability and measurability, it screams data.
Yes.
And so Nigel, talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, buyers are risk adverse, right? They want to know what are all the holes, where are the bottlenecks, what are the problems that you're going to face. And if you don't have that a measurable way of showing them, they're not going to buy, right? They need to make sure that they're confident in what they're investing in. And if you don't have consistent results and things aren't measurable, it's going to take the due diligence. It's going to take much longer, and it's going to be much more of a headache. And so we want to make sure that we have consistency in measuring things, and also just in growth, right? Is it year over year? What percentage are we growing at? Or do we have any key man risk? Are we relying too dependently on one team leader or one person? Like if the owner leaves, does the whole business crumble, right? We need to make sure that we're very upfront about these things, and we can be proactive about them so that we can be more appealing to buyers. And then this is the easiest way to predict the future, right? Because once we're able to feed data into our AI agent, it can now predict trends, and it can give you the most likely measure, the outcomes based on your inputs in your data, right? And so we just want to make it as easy as possible for the investors to be like, yes, this is a smart investment to put my money.
Excellent. Josh, you have any thought? Oh, someone's speaking. Go ahead.
Yeah, Charles, I was going to say, with regard to transferability, I mean, one of the things that we do with Exit Systems is, we look for organizations and people within the organizations who become emergent leaders. And so oftentimes the leader or the owner of the organization is kind of a single entity. And when a buyer comes in and they say, well, what happens if you leave? The nice thing about our process and our system is that we're looking for folks that come out of the organizational middle management and they become leaders of the organization. And you can't do that without ongoing conversation, having each individual employee of the organization, team member, say that these are the things that I want to do each day to become a better version of myself. And so the leadership team is able to help nurture them and help grow that person so that they become the leader that the buyer is looking for. And without the owner there, if they have some sort of an earnout and they leave, that there will be a level of leaders in that organization that you feel comfortable with regard to transferability. So I think we have an end-to-end system here that looks for the buyer and the buyer's lens.
Not only, I'll second that, but not only is it just theoretical transferability, there are stats. The IBBA, the International Business Broker Association, has published studies, and the difference when every client knows when the owner knows clients by first name, when the owner knows some clients by first name, or when the owner knows none of their clients by first name, from bottom to top, it is about a 1.2% increase in multiple that they sell for. So not only saying, hey, is it transferable and can someone else take over, but the reality is the less an owner is involved in the hands-on of the day-to-day with the individual clients, those businesses statistically sell for about 1 to 2 times more rounds of EBITDA than ones that don't, right? And so it's really drastically important, and it's sometimes hard to educate those business owners who have been doing it for 20 years of, hey, you need to remove yourself and duplicate yourself, right? But it is a great process, and it's a trackable process that has real tangible results for that business owner when they do go to sell.
And the thing, Josh, I think is that there has to be a system behind the transferability. I mean, a lot of times when a consultant comes in and says to an owner, you've got to replace yourself, that is a very, very tedious task, and I think it takes an effort and a process that a lot of owners have to go through over a period of time.
Well, it goes back to predictability and working with Nigel and all of those things of, it's not just, can I take a vacation and it doesn't implode, right? Is there a proven process that is repeatable and a buyer can walk in and say, this is how it works without you. This is how it works when I cut a check. And this is where I can improve the process with my money, right? Like that's a lot, private equity firms, it's a lot of what they do is they can help improve those processes. But the reality is they bring in cash flow to these kind of businesses that are right on the cusp of going big, right? So it really does all tie in, and I think it just goes back to what y'all are doing here at Exit Systems is the fact that there is a process that builds out over time, and businesses that do the process versus just go to market, substantially different numbers on those exits.
Yeah, I'm glad we recorded you saying that because that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Yeah, I certainly appreciate that. And now I want to, just for a matter of time, I appreciate you guys on those answers, but I do want to kind of talk about this little mini case study because everything that you guys just said in those answers is really reflected here. So if you just take this particular company that was at 11.5 million annual recurring revenue, before they had high owner dependency, few repeatable processes, and they had discounted offers. And those discounted offers were killing the company because they were not charging the value that they should have been charging. So after 10 months, documented their systems and sales, ops, finance, they had clear KPIs, team accountability, and then they sold at a 6.3 times annual recurring revenue with minimal founder involvement. And that minimum founder involvement is what really drove the deal, because that founder was not required to be part of the deal. Buyers don't buy the founder, they don't buy the owner. They buy the company and the assets of the company, which are the employees and all the other assets that are involved. So yeah, this is just kind of a mini case study that you guys answered in those particular questions that were asked.
Real quick,
So,
one
yeah,
thing
go
to
ahead.
add to that with these sellers who are paying attention to this right now, I think right now, you hit on it earlier, it really is a buyer's market, especially in the middle market. Even though that there are more buyers on market today than there have been in the last decade, and they're coming out of the woodwork, they are educated, they are running a process, they are being taught how to run this process. And so it doesn't matter if there's 100 people looking at your business and willing to write offers. Nobody's going to write a silly offer, right? And no one's going to pay overvalue just because there's 100 people. And this is really where our industry kind of differentiates between real estate, where it can be competitive and bidding offers and all that. You don't see that in business sales. Buyers are educated, they have a process, they know how to work their process. And so you as a seller have to have one of your own. And your case study is a great example of working a process to get the maximum that you can.
Thank you, Josh. That's very valuable. And 3 key lessons from this is systemization it drives value. Buyers pay for repeatable process, not heroic effort. And that's what, business that's owner dependent is really about heroic effort. And then the ownerless business is the most transferable. And that's what Josh is just now communicating to us. So for the owner, this is your ticket to success. It's your action framework. And you have to assess how dependent your company is on you. And then assess the process gaps that are there and address them. Document your core systems in sales, ops, finance, and delegate with dashboards, scorecards, team ownership. And this is the thing you should think about. Think like a buyer, build like an acquirer. And that will not only give you success for the sale, but it also gives you tremendous success as you run your business, regardless of when you sell or decide to sell, or if you never sell. So you have selling optionality. And then at the end, please feel free to scan this QR code and take our Value Atlas Discovery Diagnostic. It's just 8 questions, takes less than 5 minutes, and you'll get tremendous value out of it. You'll get a roadmap that gives you guidance on things that you can take action on right now, or you can selectively book a call with us and go to our website to do that, or email partner@exitsystemsai.com. And with that, I want to say thank you to our panelists. You guys are tremendous. And so for myself and the Exit Systems team, we are so glad that you joined, and we appreciate your attendance and look forward to partnering with you in the days to come. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Charles.